Howdy, howdy, gang. It is President's Day, yes, and we've got a brand new week off and running. So, as far as your two choices, who's your favorite president then? George Washington, the father of our country, or at least my country, or Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator? I don't know. I don't know what your choice would be. But I do know one thing, and that is the Daily Dope is in the air. All right, it is Monday, February 19th. I am Jeff McAleer. I'm your host here at the Daily Dope, as well as the Grand Poobah of thegaminggang.com. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Thanks for joining me once again. If you're tuning in live, of course, there is chat. Chat is available through Twitch as well as YouTube. So it is not on the screen, but if you have a question or you want to chime in, say hello, by all means, I will see it. I will say howdy or answer your question. So anyway, before I get into today's show, I thought it was kind of funny how everybody's freaking out about Fergie's performance of the national anthem at the NBA All-Star Game. I thought, well, you know, this isn't the first time that a celebrity has decided to put their own spin on the national anthem. I'm not getting all worked up about it because I see it constantly. But still, I personally think that anybody singing the national anthem should just stick to the national anthem. It is not a personal theme song of theirs or something that they're supposed to put their own spin on. Anyway, there are much bigger issues facing our country and the world than for people being all worked up about someone's performance of the national anthem. Anyway, today I will be taking a look at Wreckage from Hyacinth Games. They're a Chicago area game company, so I'm going to share a little bit of love to a hometown company. And this is a post-collapse miniatures game. 28mm minis. I believe this is more skirmish level, so I don't believe you have to have tons of miniatures to play. So I'm going to be taking a peek at this in just a little bit. And if you're curious what I've got cooking for the rest of the week, now on tomorrow's show, I am going to do a playthrough, or kind of a how to play, of Darkest Night from Victory Point Games. You may have caught last week's review that I did. Really dig the game. But I was having some issues with my contact, and to me, the review was kind of a mess. So I really do want to show off what I like about Darkest Night. So that's going to be on Tuesday. We've kind of got a twofer from Victory Point Games this week, because on Wednesday, I will be unboxing Chariots of Rome from designer Sean Young. And this will be for War Game Wednesday. On Thursday, I want to share some love for my good pal Herman Lutman. And we are actually going to take a look at Attack of the 50-Foot Colossi. Now, of course, this is from Tiny Battle Publishing. So this is a kind of a small Ziploc bag. So what I'm going to do is, it's a solitaire game, so I'm going to play this week. And I'm going to review it on Thursday, kind of do a little bit of a how to play, kind of take a good look at the game itself, and do a review. And I can tell you right now, I know Herman Lutman. Herman's a pal of mine. There's going to be a lot of chaos in this game. I know that for a fact. On Friday, I'm not sure if I will have a show. I'm probably not going to know more until Wednesday. And I will announce that on Wednesday's show if there's going to be a Friday show or not. Because normally on a holiday, I don't do shows. And today is President's Day, and I did not personally realize that no one's keeping an eye on my niece and nephew today. In fact, I found out an hour before I went live that I need to go run over there as soon as I'm done with the show. So anyway, I don't know. I kind of like doing the 5 shows a week kind of thing. It's pretty cool. Kind of get a kick out of that. But I don't know. I might have something going on Friday. That's what I'm kind of trying to say. I just don't happen to know for sure if it's something that I have to do normally when I would be actually in front of the camera talking to the fine folks out there. All right, I also wanted to take a second to welcome our newest patron over on Patreon, and it is Robert Moffat. If you take a peek at the comments and things like that on the YouTube channel, you see that Robert's been pretty involved sharing his thoughts on a lot of videos. I always welcome comments, welcome little thumbs up on the videos if you like them. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the Gaming Gang, by all means do so. So yes, there is a little link down below for Patreon. It's not something I carry on about. Tomorrow I will talk about some of the contests that I've got going on, and they do involve YouTube, they do involve Patreon, and I'm going to have a contest today, and that will be for Twitter, and I will get to that when I'm talking about Wreckage in just a bit. I was a bit surprised there wasn't a whole lot of news today. I thought for sure it's a Monday. I was just going to get inundated with news. There was something pretty cool RPG-wise that popped late, so I didn't have time to put something together for a news piece. So that will be on tomorrow's show, and it's something that I have been looking forward to checking out, so I will talk about that. There's some Kickstarters coming up this week that look very, very interesting. I'll talk a little bit about one of them in just a bit. But yeah, I was checking out the news, checking out my emails, and of course, I get inundated with Kickstarters that I have absolutely no interest in. And these are unsolicited. And I'll tell you right now, one way to kind of make sure that I'm not going to talk about your Kickstarter is to shoot me an email and not even say, hello, Jeff. In the email. It's right in my email address, folks. In fact, I might even be changing the mailbag to just my regular email over at thegaminggang.com. I'll probably change the graphics a little bit this coming weekend. Anyway, but I'll have a couple of items, well, one item from the mailbag that I'll talk about after the news. But there is a bit of news. There's actually a double dip that's coming from my pals over at AEG, or as many people refer to them, it's Alderac Entertainment Group, and they have a brand new expansion that's coming for the card crafting game Mystic Vale. It arrives this April, and I've got the dope. Mystic Vale Conclave provides the ideal storage solution designed to hold all of the previous releases with room to spare for future expansions. The new Equinox mechanic allows players to greatly speed up gameplay and can even scale up to 6-player games with the 2 additional starter decks provided. The new conclaves grant players the option to customize the starting decks of advancements and veils, creating a new play experience each game. Unique totem cards imbue players with awesome abilities they can use each turn to truly feel the power of Gaia's blessing. Spirit counters provide a way for players to track their spirit symbols during their turn. Key features of Mystic Vale Conclave: incredible collector box for Mystic Vale, just like the Smash Up Big Geeky box. It includes dividers for easy storing. It includes all new cards and mechanics and additional starting cards for up to 6 players. Of course, the base game is required to play. Mystic Vale Conclave is for 2 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 45 minutes, and this will carry an MSRP of $49.99 when it arrives in April. Strangely enough, I have never played Mystic Vale. Now, AEG does send me review stuff. In fact, I just reviewed Sakura Arms, which is a really cool 2-player game, real thinky kind of 2-player battle game, and I really dug it. But sometimes, strangely enough, I get expansions for games. So for an example, I got the first expansion for Mystic Vale, but I never actually had the core game. So it's sort of like, Okay, well, I did an unboxing video of it, and that was it. So who knows? I don't know. Anyway, that is my first item from Alderac Entertainment. I'll get to the second one in just a moment. But Soda Pop Miniatures and Ninja Division have a new arcade-style fighting game which is available right now. Yes, that's right. You can now get your hands on Way of the Fighter, which has arrived in stores, and here's the dope. Way of the Fighter is an expandable card game that captures the look and feel of an arcade-style fighting game. It's simple. 2 challengers, 1 arena, and all-out close quarters mayhem. The game primarily involves bluffing, resource management, and tactical positioning. Way of the Fighter Super includes 5 fighters: Ren, June, El Falcon, Elberdus, and Aurelia. Way of the Fighter Turbo includes an additional 5 fighters: Deshawn, Lumi, Ferris, Cassie, and Severina. Players can build their deck from multiple card techniques, allowing them to customize their favorite fighter to fit a playstyle that best suits them. Combining Way of the Fighter Super with Way of the Fighter Turbo allows you to tag in 2 more players for even more action. And yes, Pinky has decided to stop down and visit. Hello, Pinky, what are you complaining about? You may have heard her carrying on a little bit. Yes, I'm looking at you. Probably thinks I'm talking to her, but I'm not. I'm talking to the gang. I'm talking to the audience out here, sweetie. She's a good kid. She's a good cat. She's an older cat. She's much older than my cat, Smokey. Anyway, over a period of 12 intense turns, each player will control a fighter's movement, manage the fighter's energy, and decide on what actions to have the fighter perform against the opposing challenger. The game continues until one fighter is knocked out or the time runs out, at which point one fighter will be declared the champion. Train hard, throw down, and travel the way of the fighter. Way of the Fighter is available in 2 flavors, Super and Turbo. Both games seem to be identical, they just have different fighters. Both games are for 2 players. If you combine both, you can have 4 players. It's for ages 12 and up and plays in under an hour. Both Super and Turbo each carry MSRPs of $49.99. I must admit, I have never been big into Street Fighter and things like that. Even when I was a teenager and all those games were in the arcade, those sorts of games, the side-scrolling fighting games. Never, I don't know what it is. Even these days on consoles and stuff, I just, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's too many different combos I have to remember and things like that. But then again, I do play a lot of MLB The Show. So there's different stuff you got to do with that. But this does look fairly unique, and I think it should appeal to folks out there who dig that sort of like Capcom versus Marvel sort of vibe to games. Anyway, I mentioned I do have 2 Alderac Entertainment news pieces. So my second one is about a new expansion for Smash Up that's arriving in March. I love the artwork in Smash Up. And this time out, the decade of the 1970s, which I do recall being a kid in the 70s. The 70s gets the tongue-in-cheek treatment. Here's the dope from AEG. The decade that was Smash Up fabulous. Can you dig it? We've put Smash Up into the not-so-way-back machine and set the controls for groovy. That 70s expansion celebrates all the greatest pop culture memories from the age of Aquarius. Put on your Rudmings. Duh. Hold on. Put on your mood rings, bust out your leisure suits, spin that disco ball, and put the pedal to the metal, good buddy. The streets are mean, there's a bear in the air, and the music is fantastic, and everyone is kung fu fighting. Wait a second. Hey, AEG, it was everybody was kung fu fighting, not everyone. Jeez. Anyway, this new standalone expansion includes truckers. Got your ears on, good buddy? That's a big 10-4. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. If Elliot Miller was hanging around, I could have him bust out Convoy, the old song Convoy. I swear he knew that song by heart, and it wouldn't shock me if he still does. Disco dancers, you can see by the way we walk, oh, I'm sorry, you can see by the way we use our walk, we're smashing paces and got no time to talk. Vigilantes. This is the most powerful combo in the world. It can blow your base clean off the table. Question is, did I draw 5 cards or 6? Well, you feel lucky, punk. Kung Fu Fighters. Hi-ya! Spin-kicking, board-breaking, tracksuit wearing Kung Fu is here. Walk the earth, save the hood, wax on, wax off. Smash Up, that 70s expansion, is a standalone 2-player edition which can also be used to expand the core game. You will be able to snag this expansion next month. That's right, it's coming out in March, and it carries an MSRP of $24.99. I do dig Smash Up. Every time I talk about Smash Up, I always say, you know, it sort of came out of nowhere. And when I first heard about it from AEG, I thought, well, really? You're going to take two small decks, mix them together? And then it came out of Gen Con, and it was a big hit. It was a huge hit, and it's a blast. Super easy to learn. I have to admit, I remember not too long ago, I interviewed Todd Rowland at Gen Con. It wasn't this past year, it was the year before that, I believe. And maybe it was this past year. Anyway, and we talked about how everywhere you looked, people were playing Smash Up at the Gen Con it released at. He said, well, yeah, they sort of had set that up. A little marketing, I was going to say fiasco, but it wasn't a fiasco. A little marketing trickery, I guess we would say. But thankfully enough, it's a great game, and I've got my copy right over here, right up on top, because it gets popped up out, I should say, all the time. And I've got, you can't see the expansions. I got a bunch of the expansions, like 4 of them, that we break out too. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. As goofy as it sounds, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited. There's another Smash Up expansion coming out. But it is the 70s, and I was not a teenager in the 70s. But yeah, I do recall how terrible the music really was. Yes, yeah, there's some disco songs that are all right, but I'm talking like the pop stuff, like Muskrat Love. Oh, ugh. Top 40 music was pretty brutal. That's why I moved into rock when I was, I don't know, about 9 years old, 8 years old. All right, my final news piece should be of interest to gamers out there who have children, as Gamewright will be releasing Trash Pandas in Q3 of 2018. And of course, I've got the dope. In Trash Pandas, players are raucous raccoons, tipping over trash cans for food and shiny objects. Players push their luck to acquire more cards, but must stash them in order for them to count as points at the end of the game. When the deck runs out, the game ends, and players compare their stashes to see who has the majority for each card type and score points accordingly. The player with the most points wins. In more detail, on a turn, the active player rolls a die in the hope of gaining the benefit of the roll result. With each roll, the player decides to keep rolling, so they're going to push their luck, or stop and activate the dice results. However, with each additional roll, the odds of busting, getting a duplicate result, increase further, and the player risks losing the progress they've made that round. When activating the die results, the player will draw cards, steal cards from other players, and stash cards. Cards in hand may be used for their listed ability, but they count as points only when stashed. Trash Pandas is for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. I dig the art. I like the artwork on these cards. Plays in about 20 minutes. There's no word yet on MSRP, but I'm going to take a stab. As it turns out, we've got a different image popping up than what's supposed to be there. Get rid of that. I tell you, I had a second image. That's weird. I don't know why it's not popping up and showing properly. Anyway, I'm taking a guess that the MSRP on this is probably going to be somewhere maybe 15-ish, maybe $20, seeing that it's from Gamewright, and it is for families. Smaller kids can get into it too. So that's pretty cool. Looks like it might be a bit of fun. I especially like the fact that it's got a little take that, because I guess you can kind of steal cards from the other raccoons. Alrighty, so that is it for the news. As I mentioned already, pretty short news day, pretty slim news. It's going to be like an AEG week, because there's a big Kickstarter that's launching tomorrow for them. It's either tomorrow or day after. I'll have to take a peek again. But it is something that a lot of people are really kind of keeping their eyes open for. And of course, I will have more news about that. And then the news piece I really wanted to share today is for The Terror, which is coming to AMC the end of March. And it looks awesome. It's based on a novel. I read it a long time ago. I know how it turns out. But it looks like AMC has done a phenomenal job with this. And I'm really looking forward to it. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to do a news piece about The Terror, and I'll include the trailer that AMC has had for it. And as soon as I upload it, because that's what I do with the videos now, if I'm going to include a video for Kickstarters, what have you, uploaded it to YouTube to make sure that it didn't get flagged. Sure enough, not only did it get flagged for copyright, it told me that it was not going to be viewed in 221 countries. So I was like, okay, well, so much for talking about The Terror. Sorry. All right, now I got Smokey floating around. You want to come up here, Smokey? Come on. Come on. Hurry up. Let's go. Come on. Okay. Oh, that was close. That was close. There you go. Say hello to everybody, Smokey. Hello, everybody. Yeah, kind of strange. I have both kitties down here today. They're usually sleeping about this time. Upstairs. They don't normally hang out too much down here in the duct tape studio, although we do get an occasional visit. All right. So anyway, before I jump into taking a look at Wreckage, I did want to pop in to the mailbag. So, of course, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything like that, feel free, at least through this week, to email me at mailbag@thegaminggang.com. And a couple of people had emailed me over the weekend. They thought that I was kind of harsh on Steve Jackson Games when I did a news piece about how they had lost. Well, they didn't lose money. Sales were down for the 3rd straight year. And I talked about, what was successful for them and what kind of bombed for them. And I had mentioned that I thought that they might be putting a little too many of their eggs in one basket as far as this Munchkin collectible card game, which I want to say comes out on the 21st. I wasn't saying anything disparaging about it. And I wanted to kind of elaborate on why I thought I'm a little concerned. And it's not anything about, is it a quality game or anything along those lines? No, not at all. I have not played it. I know nothing about it, but I know there are a lot of people looking forward to it. The only thing that kind of threw me off a bit is having a collectible card game, I should say, and then Munchkin being a card game which is non-collectible. You're kind of almost like cannibalizing with a collectible card game is sort of how I kind of look at it. That, you know, you might see, because Munchkin obviously is an evergreen title from Steve Jackson Games, you might see the collectible card game draw sales away from that. So what I was kind of surprised that Steve Jackson Games didn't do is that they didn't just do a collectible card game but make it online. That is something that I would have thought would have been now, and it's very possible that they may have looked into doing this, because, you know, it's not that easy to port stuff over to, you know, mobile PCs, consoles, what have you. But I would have thought that probably would have been a pretty good way to go, because once again, you would not be cannibalizing sales from the non-collectible Munchkin games for an online game. So I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, no, I was saying that I have that love-dislike relationship with Steve Jackson Games. I don't wish them ill. I want them to be successful. I want every game company to be successful, even the ones that the people have been mean to me over the years. I don't wish anybody any ill will. All right, so that was something that I wanted to kind of clarify a little bit. All right, so anyway, the other item about from the mailbag was just more along the lines of Kickstarter-ish. That how come I don't cover tons of Kickstarters, and I've kind of talked about this in the past, and it just, if a Kickstarter doesn't really jump out at me, I don't really share the news. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I hate when I get these unsolicited emails where it's just just a canned mailer blast, marketing blast. I prefer if somebody takes a minute and says, "Oh, hi Jeff, I wanted to share this Kickstarter with you." They've got a much better chance of me actually taking a look at it and sharing it with you folks, either on the show, on the website, or both. All right, enough of that. Let's move into Wreckage. Let's take a look at this. And I have kind of mentioned that, hey, and if you watched Friday's show, at least I've transitioned over to the correct camera. That was weird. It was showing a preview, because I see a preview. It's, there's a delay, of course, but I see a preview of what you're seeing. And it was showing that I was over on this camera. And then thankfully, I believe one of our constant viewers, Harry Ryan, had pointed out, "Hey, Jeff, your camera, it's not switched over." And I was like, huh? So, all right. So at least we're not going to have to worry about that too much today. So Wreckage is a post-collapse. I want to say post-apocalyptic, but they're actually touting this as a post-collapse tabletop skirmish game. It's written by, and I'm going to get this wrong, I'm sure, Anton Zaleski. Well, maybe I got that right. The art is provided by Konstantinos Skentaridis. That I know I've gotten wrong. Sorry. It is from Hyacinth Games. As I mentioned, Hyacinth is from the Chicago area. They're from Chicago. This is available as a 132-page softcover book, which we see right here. And it is $25 from the rec-age.net website. I believe it's $25. The PDF is available through Drive-Thru RPG for $12.50. And at the end of our look through this, I'm going to tell you how you can win a copy of Wreckage, and but it'll be in PDF. All right, so taking a peek here, let's take a look at the back. And it says, 200 years ago, the world's rich and powerful left the planet in a mass exodus. However, this grand plan didn't include everyone. course, I'm sure I would have been left behind. And society collapsed in the vacuum. Now, for the first time in centuries, those left behind take their first baby steps from the culling of previous generations. There's finally hope, finally something to fight for. Crops are starting to grow, and populations are booming. In this burgeoning wasteland, various factions vie for power and resources. There are vast troves of wealth out in the wilds for those willing to take the risks to obtain them. Wreckage is a 28mm tabletop skirmish miniatures game set on post-collapse Earth, where you control a small crew of characters looking to establish themselves in the vast wastelands of the American continent. Alright, so one thing I do know is I do not believe there are vehicle rules in this core book. I do know that there are some beta rules that are available on DriveThruRPG for vehicles. I think it's a 13, 14-page beta, which is a free download. So let's open this on up. Let's take a peek here. I love to see physical books. I always enjoy having a chance to show off physical books because even with just PDFs, it's kind of weird, especially like when I do some of these RPG reviews where all I have is the PDF. Kind of lacks something in my opinion, because you're just watching some slides passing by, and at least here we're like, oh, okay, so got some photography here, so that's cool. Got a table of contents, so we've got an introduction, the basics. There's the introduction. Pretty good paper stock here. Talking about the basics of the game. I'm taking a stab that we're probably looking at D6s maybe. Oh, look at this. This book is so fresh. It's sticking together. Oh, there we go. Got a map of the wilds. Look at that. Switch City, huh? Well, I know where that is. Of course, that's Chicago. The Pirate Isles. Esperanza. Shangri-La, out on the West Coast. Okay, so we've got a history. So I believe, and once again, I might be wrong, but I do believe that the first edition of Wreckage, because this is the second edition, I believe the first edition was kind of a hybrid RPG miniatures game, and people dug it, but I guess one of the knocks on it was it wasn't all one thing or all the other. So the folks over at Hyacinth Games decided that for the second edition, they were just going to go full-fledged. It's a miniatures game. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't RPG elements in this, because I do believe you've got the different factions. It's talking about the Exodus. Pretty cool artwork. The Reunification Wars, the Too Soon Accords, the Big Push. So I see it says Echoes of Unrest, 45 to 61 AE. So I'm going to say that's probably after Exodus. Things Fall Apart, the Dark Times, the Resurgence. Right, then we got Locales. Talking about Atlanta, Coal City, Defiance, Esperanza, aka Hope City, Greenville, Gunmetal, Heaven's Reach, which is Springfield, Illinois. Okay. Houston, Mecca, Brookline. Oh, quite a lot here. Looks like we got quite a lot of background info. I always like the different world building in games. Just adds a little extra oomph to them. Now we're going to get into gameplay. Let me grab a quick sip here. All right. What's required to play? All right, so there we go. Six-sided dice. So they're talking about a D3. Yeah. Okay, so sometimes they're going to be D3, sometimes they're D6. We got stat cards. Taking a guess, we've got those probably in the back of the book. Okay, attributes, encounters, turns. So turn order, initiative test, activation, end phase. Initiative test for the Beastmaster. So let's see, we've got the attributes are... Okay, so we got action points, movement, power, shooting, fighting, wits, nerves, and renown. Talking about tests. Automatic failure. Yeah, that's me at the game table. Test difficulties. Attack rolls. The rule of sixes. I don't think it's exploding dice, but it's basically saying that results of higher than 6 can be achieved. Sure, if you're getting some sort of modifiers in there. Actions. Oh, a bunch of different actions. Walk, crawl, interact with objects, sprint, communicate, hip shot, complex actions, aimed shots, charging, fighting, hold action, disengaging, rallying, unjamming your weapon, repair and replace, and then they're talking about the end phase. Probably a bit of a cleanup involved in that. Talking about movement, measuring, terrain and cover. Oh, so that's kind of cool. We're showing off all various different cover. There are miniatures that are available for Wreckage that are from Hyacinth Games. I believe they're from Hyacinth Games. I know you can order them from the website. And there are quite a few. Plus, of course, now it's 28mm minis. Nothing in here is telling you you can only use their miniatures for the game. Suppression, fighting, superior numbers, damage, non-lethal damage, weapon malfunctions. I hate when that happens. It's a workbench. Revive, wounded, down, dying. All right, here we go. Character creation here, training levels. So we've got green, trained, veteran, and elite. Animal companions and beasts. Oh, looks like each player has a player character that represents them within the game. And I guess the rest of their minis, rest of their faction group is their crew. We've got archetypes, character traits. Wow, there's pretty detailed stuff in here. This looks pretty cool. Feats, armor. It's again showing off different figures, different armor. So we're seeing light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. There's a weapons table. Weapon traits. Armor descriptions, weapon descriptions. There's rockets. Explosives. Laser pistols? Huh, okay. Laser rifles. Rifles. Vibro blades. Well, I guess, yeah, it is a few hundred years after the Exodus, right? Was it 200 years, I believe it said? Talking about different equipment. Got another shot of some minis here. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool photography in here. Different kits. Ah, here we go. Your crew name. So where you're going to have your different characters who are your crew. Talk about encounters. Primary goals: King of the Hill, scavenge, recon, search and destroy, trade envoy, a chance encounter. Talking about objectives. I like miniatures games that have objectives, because the reality is, come on, I mean, just fighting for the hell of fighting. So I always dig objectives. In fact, I'm still working on getting the new edition of Knights and Magic finished up, and objectives are included. We decided on, having objective counters. I'll talk about that some point when we get closer to actually maybe crowdfunding it. Talking about the different factions: Stalkers, Drifters, the Fringes, Church of Fun, the Cult of Unapologetic Hedonists. Okay. Got Stakers, Drifters, Stitchers. This artwork's really nice. Reclaimers, the Ark, the Church of Fun. There you go. Yay! Whee! I'm sure they're fairly chaotic. The Unicephalon, the Fringes. Like I said, really dig the artwork, and as you can see, this isn't a game book where it's like just tons and tons of images, so you're not getting a lot of game material. There is a lot of game material packed in this book. The Carabineers. And then it talks about campaigns. Playing a campaign with your crews, choosing scenarios. The narrator. It says, while not technically required to run a campaign, a narrator will greatly help to make sure things run smoothly and keep things between the other player's objective. Okay, cycles. Campaign actions. Look at this. You'll create a community. Nice. Random encounters. Quite a few different random encounters there. And then it's talking about community here. What is a community? Their functions, defining the community, creating it, sample structures. Wow. A whole lot to this. Scrapyard, infirmary, warehouse, survivalist's villa. Okay. Then we've got some advanced rules. Armor variants, squads, sentries, concealed objectives. Oops. Random weapons and equipment. Some more archetypes here. Reclaimer. I don't know, it's just, I guess this is just the archetypes, kind of just a kind of brief outline of each. And then common actions. So it's giving us a list of the different actions here. Strangely enough, I did not see for a specific character. Maybe that's just part of the crew sheet. Maybe your personal character is just on your crew sheet there. That's a possibility. Very nice. This is a nice book. Very cool. So that is Wreckage 2nd edition. And as I mentioned before we started taking a peek through, that I'm going to give you the opportunity to actually win a copy of Wreckage 2nd edition. And I'm going to make it super easy because it's going to be the PDF. So I've done some giveaways for YouTube. I'm in the midst of some giveaways on YouTube, which I will, as I talked about earlier, I'll talk about a little more in detail tomorrow when I'm not kind of pressed for time. I apologize, the show's going to be a bit shorter than usual. But as I mentioned, I had to run over to my brother's house to watch their kids. But I was going to say that as far as Wreckage, I'm going to do something for folks on Twitter. So if you follow the Gaming Gang on Twitter, and if you don't, Why don't you? But anyway, if you are a follower on Twitter, what I'm going to do later on tonight is I will post pretty simple that all you need to do is you'll need to retweet that tweet to be in the running to win a PDF copy of Wreckage from Hyacinth Games. I will dig further into this book and give you some thoughts about the game system itself, probably within about the next, let's say, 2 weeks. But it does look pretty cool. And I do like the fact that it's skirmish. You don't need a whole ton of miniatures to get going and start playing. That's one of the reasons why I kind of dig like Osprey's games that they've got, like Frostgrave. You know, one of these days I should probably do a review for Frostgrave. But same kind of thing, where it's like it's your crew, it's your team, your gang, whatever, your faction, and pretty heavy role-playing aspect to it as they get better throughout. But you don't need, you know, $1,000 worth of minis to get started in the game. So, all right, so stay tuned for that tweet later on tonight. Be sure to retweet that, and you will be in the running to win the PDF. Okay, so that is it for today's show. Once again, I apologize, a little shorter than usual. I always like to go at least an hour. Sometimes I go far more than that. Sometimes it approaches 2 hours. So I guess maybe I'm making up for that, right? Is that what I'm doing today? Okay. So when you're not watching The Daily Dope, be sure to go and visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Hey, I'll have the Terror up there tonight because I won't get flagged for copyright sharing it on the website. Anyway, you know the drill. Go get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow showing you a little more in depth how to play Darkest Night. I will point out, because I'm going to watch my niece and nephew tonight, sometimes the shows are a few minutes late because I have to come back in the morning and get everything set up. Anyway, but I will be back tomorrow. So until then, thank you very much for watching, and here's hoping that your Monday is off to a great start. Thanks a lot.